Own Way, the podcast with me, your host, Kori McClurg.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Get Out of Your Own Way podcast. I'm Kori McClurg, author of Get Out of Your Own Way. So today I want to talk about a show I just watched on Netflix. It was this 3-part documentary about the show The Biggest Loser. And if you don't know, the show was on, I think it was 17 seasons. It was on quite a while. And I think it was started in the 90s. And the whole concept behind the show was that, every season there was a new group of people, and it was all about who could lose the most weight percentage wise. And the context was they would take these people. Of course, there was a big selection process of who would be on the show. And then they would take these people to a location, they called it the ranch, where they lived for, those however many weeks. And so all their food was generally controlled by the staff, and then all of their workouts and stuff were also controlled by the staff. They famously had a couple of celebrity trainers, Jillian Michaels and Bob Harper. And so it, was pretty dramatic. They had some of the biggest viewership in network television in those days. I think somebody on the documentary referred to the fact that one of the finales had 10 million plus viewers, which in TV that's a huge number. And so the whole thing is just kind of a look back at that show. And I have to say the whole, the thing, it was pretty sad. Most of the people that were on the documentary as having been previous contestants, they were overweight. Some of them were back to the weight that they had been before they went on the show. And to the extent that, some of these people had lost hundreds of pounds, 200 plus pounds. And it's obvious they're back to that weight again. And they, talk about the fact that they're back to that. And the whole thing is really kind of sad. They also talked about, not sure I ever really watched the show. I was aware of it, but I don't think I watched it to know, what went on. But I guess there were also these pretty cruel kind of challenges, that were sort of trying to lure people into, eating, junk food, and they would dangle other, prizes, like they would get to see their family if they ate the most calories, but of course that's in stark contrast to what they're trying to achieve in their overall mission, which was to lose weight. The whole thing was kind of effed up, in my opinion. But one thing, they had some of the producers of the show on it, and they made clear that this was for TV, right? The objective was not the first objective wasn't to help people lose weight. It was to create TV that would get eyeballs. And I think, number one, we can all very much appreciate the fact that happens. That's what's happening, has happened in social media. There's nothing about social media that's meant to make you a better person. It's all meant to encourage engagement. And this is a side note, but I highly recommend that you read the book Nexus by Yuval Noah Harari. It talks specifically about the follies of an AI that's driven by the goal of achieving user engagement. It talks about a whole bunch of other stuff too. It goes kind of back to the history of information networks. But anyway, I digress. So back to the show. They were trying to make good TV. They were trying, and good's a subjective word, obviously. They were trying to make TV that got viewers. That's what they were trying to do. They weren't trying to, create this army of healthy people by any. They were trying to make money. So I think that's a great context by which we can look at our environment, right? That nothing in your modern environment is there to make you a healthier person, right? The products that you're buying at the store that are available at the store, at least the processed products, they're there to achieve a profit, and to maximize that profit by getting you to want to eat them over and over again. The like clickbaity, social media influencers, news is a generous word, news outlets. That's not an appropriate word for what I'm talking about. But the clickbaity stuff, like that's there to get your engagement, which equates to dollars for them. I think that's a helpful context, that our well-being is in stark contrast to these other people's objectives. And so we have to like constantly keep that, front of mind. Also, I was really struck by just how sad, the situation was for a lot of these people that I think is not all that dissimilar to what many of us experience, where you kind of get thrown into this machine thinking that, that it's going to help you achieve an outcome, and it doesn't, or it does temporarily. And then you end up feeling like it's your fault that it didn't. So again, I'm all about like, look, it's not your fault. We can certainly exercise a ton of self-compassion for ourselves and recognize that how you ended up in this situation is not your fault. But now there is a way for you to take responsibility. Ultimately, it's still your responsibility because nobody's going to change it for you. You have to change it regardless of how shitty the circumstances were that you find yourself in this position today. There's still your bag of shit, right? I mean, we all have to carry our own bag of shit, and there's just no way to get around that. It sucks. It's not fair, but somebody put all their crap on you and you have to carry it. Now, to some extent, I do want to be, tread carefully here. Sometimes we take other people's stuff, by the way, that's not ours. So we need to be careful that we are not picking up other crap, right? We're carrying the stuff that we are responsible for, and that's it, right? Period. Dot. So yes, it's sad the way that, people end up that way. It's sad the way that they end up throwing themselves into this machine and getting spit out the other end of it. But also there's a lesson, right, for how, just from a practical standpoint, there's really a lesson in what, I espouse as really the way to get healthy, right? It's not the way to get healthy is not the way that The Biggest Loser, their methodology, right? Working out for 8 hours a day, just trying to eat smaller portions of things. That's not a sustainable weight loss situation, right? We know that whole foods help us get healthy. We know that abstaining from highly processed foods, drug-like foods, keep us on the path of eating whole foods. It keeps us out of that addiction loop. Those are the ways that we get healthy. Activity, yes, is incredibly important for our brain health, for sure. But obviously, demonstrably, it does not, these old, tired methods, these old, tired ideas are not eat less, work out more, is not the solution to weight loss or health. It's not. In no way, shape, or form. No. Eat whole natural plant foods until your stomach is full. That is the way to, you have a natural drive, you have a natural hunger drive, and trying to deny that is never going to be sustainable. So I just, it frustrates me so much when I watch these things like this documentary. I just want to shake people and, just shake them out of it. Like, no, this is not, and some of these people, one guy, he's like, my wife and I really want to get healthy again, and we want to do it for us and not from this external motivation. And I'm like, amen, dude. That's the path you need to be on for sure. But also there is no amount of, what's my why that's going to keep have you eat one taco versus, the whole package or whatever. It's not, because your brain doesn't work that way. Get the shit out of your house, right? Start doing the mental work to understand what's limiting you. You're not going to eat small portions and, work out all the time to get yourself to a healthy place. It just doesn't work that way. And I'm also going to point out, I knew this before I saw the documentary, but back to the, you like what you eat doesn't matter. Bob Harper, one of the trainers, had a massive freaking heart attack not long after the show was over. Massive heart attack. And why did he have a massive heart attack? Because he was still eating crap, right? He was still eating the crap. Even though he was thin and fit, even he ate apparently, less, like the number of calories didn't save him because there's still cholesterol and saturated fat in the crap that he was eating. So it was in stark contrast. Here he is, this trainer, thin, fit trainer, stark contrast to very much morbidly obese, contestants. And some of them still haven't had a heart attack. And yet Bob, there he is. He was literally, they show videos of him. He's intubated and everything in the hospital, on his deathbed. So I feel for these people. It really just, watching that, I felt such sympathy and compassion for these poor people who had what so many of us experienced, but they had it on display, right, for millions of people. And then ultimately didn't achieve what they wanted. And it was just so freaking sad. And it really just pissed me off about this, the same old tired freaking crap that's out there in the diet industry. It's literally kind of the same old churn as from the 90s when The Biggest Loser started, oh, there's just something wrong with you that you can't stop eating or whatever. And that's utter bullshit. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. This can be fixed. We're not going to fix it overnight, and we're probably not going to fix it in the length of the TV season or whatever. We're going to work at it a little bit every day. You're going to start eating whole natural foods, and we're going to start understanding, what are all those liminal thoughts that are swirling around in your head that are keeping you from being able to, adopt a whole natural diet. And for sure, understanding all of these physical addictions, the hijacking of your brain, and understanding why that substance is doing you no freaking favors. In that, there's an enemy in all this, and it ain't you. So anyway, I think sure, go watch the documentary, and maybe, maybe it'll give you some context for what got me so fired up about it. But yeah, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you again soon.